Imagine a country so powerful that even when it lost, it still shaped the world. This is the story of how Egypt kept winning when everyone else thought the game was over. The world's first nation-state. In a world of scattered tribes, Egypt pulled off the first political merger. Upper and Lower Egypt, united under one crown by King Narmer. This wasn't just ceremonial, and it came with a capital, Memphis, a government, taxes, a standing army, and even propaganda art. The Narmer palette literally shows him smacking his enemies with divine approval. While Mesopotamia had city-states, Egypt built something way more advanced, a central state with national identity. Basically, Egypt invented nationhood thousands of years before the word existed. Inventing the calendar. Long before leap years confused everyone, Egypt invented the 365-day calendar, based on the star Sirius and the Nile's flood cycle. This was around 2700 BC, and it helped them know exactly when to plant, harvest, and tax people. The Greeks later copied it, then the Romans turned it into the Julian calendar, which we still base our system on. So next time you're scheduling a Zoom call, thank the ancient Egyptians. They literally made time work, owning the first megacity. Before Paris, London, or New York, there was Memphis. This city had temples, massive walls, industry, and a population in the tens of thousands. It was the world's largest city for over 500 years, at a time when most people were still living in huts. Foreign envoys came to see what civilization looked like. Memphis wasn't just a capital, it was a flex, engineering the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2560 BC and remained the tallest human-made structure for nearly 4,000 years. It has over 2 million limestone blocks perfectly aligned with the cardinal points, without lasers, cranes, or Excel. Even modern architects argue over how they pulled it off. Oh, and it survived earthquakes, looters, erosion, and TikTok tourists. Not bad for a tomb. Women had rights. Egyptian women had more rights than most of the ancient world. While women in ancient Greece were basically furniture, Egyptian women could own property, inherit land, get divorced, and even run businesses. They weren't just background characters. Some became doctors, judges, and even pharaohs. Shout out Hatshepsut. One legal document shows a woman suing her own husband and winning. In a world of male-dominated societies, ancient Egypt went, actually, she's got a point. The First Peace Treaty. They smacked the Hittites and got the First Peace Treaty around 1274 BC in the Battle of Kadesh. It still remains the biggest documented chariot battle in history. It was basically a draw, but Ramses II spun it so hard in temple carvings that he looked like the goat. Then he made peace. The Egypt-Hittite Treaty is the oldest surviving peace treaty in history, and a copy of it hangs at the United Nations today. Cleopatra outsmarted Rome, until she couldn't. Cleopatra VII wasn't just that girl. She was a polyglot, a scholar, and a master strategist. While the Roman Republic was tearing itself apart, Cleopatra played its top men like chess pieces. First Julius Caesar, then Mark Antony. She even smuggled herself into Caesar's palace, rolled up in a carpet. Iconic. For a moment, Egypt was shaping Roman history. Not the other way around. She lost in the end. But her myth? Immortal. The Egyptian language. Copts preserved the ancient language in plain sight. After pharaohs faded and the temples crumbled, Egypt's ancient language didn't just vanish. It evolved. Coptic, the language of Egypt's early Christians, is basically the final version of ancient Egyptian. It kept the language alive, letter by letter, prayer by prayer, when no one else was paying attention. Even the Rosetta Stone only cracked hieroglyphs because it had Coptic clues. Imagine preserving 3,000 years of language through church hymns. The October War. Egypt shocked the world with the ultimate comeback. On October 6, 1973, Egypt did the unthinkable. It crossed the Suez Canal and smashed through the invincible Bar-Lev line in under 6 hours. The world watched as Israeli defenses crumbled. For Egypt, it wasn't just military, it was psychological. After the humiliation of 1967, this was redemption. It forced Israel to the negotiating table. Even Israeli generals called it a strategic earthquake. The revolution of 2011. Egyptians took down a 30-year regime. In 18 days, Egyptians did what decades of diplomacy couldn't. They brought down a dictatorship using nothing but courage, unity, and Wi-Fi. Tahrir Square became a global symbol of people power. No outside army, no political party, just the people versus the system. Mubarak, the man who ruled Egypt longer than some pharaohs, was gone. Whatever came after, that moment was electric. Still here, Egypt is still relevant after 5,000 years. Empires rose and fell, Greece collapsed, Rome burned. Babylon is a memory. Egypt, still going. From pharaohs to Fatimids, Mamluks to memes. It's a nation that reinvented itself 100 times and never disappeared. Egypt doesn't just appear in history, it rewrites it. Which one was your favorite Egyptian flex? Drop it in the comments. I'll be making similar videos. Subscribe to see them.